What's going on, you guys? Welcome to part 2 of this series of where I'll be showing you how to use Solidworks and 3D printing to create high quality 3D prints using various techniques. Previously on Finish My Prop, there was drama, there was laughter, and there were some tears. Yeah, none of that happened. In the last part, I showed you how I designed this in Solidworks, how it was 3D printed, and how I used painting techniques to give it a metal finish look. There was a lot of sanding, a lot of painting involved. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It leads perfectly into this one. So in this one, I'll be showing you how I printed this, how I finished it with a filler primer and a lot of sanding, how I use this silicone and clay to create a mold, how I use that mold and aluminium powder to create this metal looking batarang out of resin. This kind of rounds off different ways of finishing off 3D prints in a very high quality way. So let's get started. So all the information about how I designed this in Solidworks, how it was printed and how I finished it to the stage of the master, which you see here, that's all can be seen in the previous video. Here I'm busy cutting up a bit of a foam board to create the box to pour the silicone in. I'm using a bit of hot glue just to bind it all together and glue it all together. I put a bit of hot glue on the seam just to seal it off and make it watertight. I used a bit of putty to create a basic base, stuck on my model about halfway where I wanted it, and I then just filled in the gaps to create the join line that I wanted, and then flatten it out with my fingers to get it nice and smooth. I then use the back of a paintbrush to create registration marks. These are used to help line up the two halves of the mold and make them join very nicely. This can be done with anything that makes a hole. I then mix the two-part silicone. This is Mold Star 30 that I'm using. Mixed it all together, and then I decided to paint it on at first. This gets rid of any air bubbles or imperfections on the surface of the mold and make it look better. I'll then pour it. A trick to pouring silicone is if you pour it at a very high height, it gets rid of most of the bubbles on its way down. I then peeled away the mold box to reveal the mold. I then removed all of the putty that was there, which revealed one half of the mold. After a little bit of cleanup, got rid of most of the putty that was left over and started building the second box. This was done in the same technique, using a hot glue gun to join it all together. I then used the mold release, as when you pour two parts of silicone together, they actually fuse together. So if you put a mold release, then those two parts won't join. I used a paintbrush again to paint on the surface detail, and I had to do 2 mold pours again to get the quantity needed. Once that was all set, after about 12 hours, I then peeled away the final mold box to reveal the 2 mold halves. I then had to find a little seam to split it. Once I did, it popped and split apart perfectly. There you can see the registration marks I made with the back of the paintbrush. I then used a sharp knife to cut a little channel where I wanted to pour the material. This didn't work out too well in the end, as you'll see here. Yeah, I'm busy preparing the molds for the resin casting. I used the mold release to help everything split apart real nicely. I used a bit of aluminium powder to kind of give the metal look on the outside of it. The resin basically mixes with this and gives a very thin metal coating on the outside. I then poured it, and this is where I found that the hole that I created was not wide enough, so I created a wider hole to do my mold pouring. I used a couple of elastic bands to hold it together and a bit more foam board. This in the end worked out not so great in the end because it wasn't holding enough pressure, and this created a lot of flashing on the mould. As you can see, there was a lot of flash on the edge, so a bit of cleanup was needed, and there wasn't enough resin to complete the model. So third time's a charm. Here I just used 2 pieces of wood and some clamps to get an even pressure on the top and the bottom of the mold. Then mixed my onyx resin again. Worked out perfectly this time. Broke off the sprue that was created, and as you can see, it left a very nice metal finish on it. Gives a bit of a shine. You can do a bit of extra post-processing on this, but I left it as is. You can sand a little bit, but because it's a very thin layer of metal, it goes away very easily. Here it is with a bit of cleanup, and it looks great. So I really hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned a lot from it, and I hope you can take a lot from this and evolve it into your own individual projects. If you have any questions of the materials or techniques that I use, please leave them down in the comment section down below. And please like this video, and we'll see you guys in the next one. It didn't break. Yeah, it didn't break. Yes.